Always wonderful to welcome you to our conversation with Chigozie George. I'm excited about today's conversation. It's going to be super exciting. I know it's going to be super educative, super informative, and super inspiring. So, like I say always, if it's wherever you are, I say good morning. If it's afternoon, if it's night, I say good night. If it's evening, good evening. It's your favorite Saturday conversation, and I'm excited to be your host. My name is Chigozie George. Like we always do, you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, you can platforms, and I'm happy to be here with you. I hope that you are also excited about being here. So quickly, like I said, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, and I know it's going to be an exciting conversation today. So please sit back and enjoy the conversation with me today. One more time, I'm Chigozie George. I'm excited to be your host in today's conversation. And just like we do always, we bring you inspiring people to have conversations with. We explore their life, their motivations, we explore their challenges, and we explore what makes them exceptional in their career path. And of course, from we have conversations with leaders as we explore leadership principles, we have conversations with managers in different career field, and we explore what makes managers and people exceptional. And I know tonight it's going to be a wonderful night. So quickly, do me a favor before I introduce my guest today. I want you to go to Facebook and share it and invite to be part of this conversation. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful section. So just give me a moment. I'm going to quickly try to share and also get people to join on different platforms. So quickly, while we're doing that for 30 seconds, 1 minute, go ahead and invite somebody to be part of the conversation. I'm Chigozie George, and we'll continue in a moment. Okay, great. And while we're on it, I just want to quickly give an opportunity to our guest so that she can introduce herself. Today is someone that I have known for quite a while and has been very inspiring, very inspirational. Please welcome to the conversation today, Priscilla Ofei. She's a midwife, a PhD. Introduce herself and talk more about herself. Come on, Priscilla. You're welcome.
Hi, Chigozie. It's so good to see you. Um, First of all, I just want to ask if you're doing well. I make a mental note to ask people how they are doing every time because it's a crazy world. So, how are you doing?
Okay, someone is asking me how I'm doing. I think I'm doing good. I think I'm
Yeah.
doing good. I think I'm doing good. Thank you.
Well, that's good to hear. So, my name is Priscilla. I'm Pofua Ofei. I'm Ghanaian. And so I grew up in Ghana and I moved to Turkey when I was 20 years old. I did my degree, did my master's, and then I am currently a PhD candidate studying in Turkey, but I'm also a midwife and I work here in London in a public hospital with the NHS.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds good. Like she said, she's a midwife, a PhD candidate, and she's currently serving in the UK. So I'm interested in you know your a little bit of your story, and but I got to hear of your story. Let me start with: do you consider yourself a
I wouldn't say that. I would say I get more humble by the day. Yes, I'm trying my
okay?
best to be humble with time. I comparing myself to 10 years ago, I can say that I'm way more humble than I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I wouldn't say I'm a humble person. I would say I'm working towards becoming humble with each day.
What defines a humble person in line of thoughts?
I think Humility is it's definitely not being poor. It's definitely not sitting down while people walk over you, even though sometimes that might happen. I think it's understanding you having a fair idea of who you are, your
Mm-hmm.
achievements, your status in society,
Mm-hmm.
and not always trying to claim it or feel entitled because of that. I think that that's what humility is about. So we know that, okay, you're probably the boss, and maybe you should expect that people do things for you. But then when the situation requires for you to roll up your sleeve and get the work done, you do it, and you do not tell yourself, oh, because I'm the manager, I could never stoop this low and do this. I think that's one form of humility. Knowing who you are, but
Mm.
never always defining yourself by it, or not allowing it to stop you from doing certain things or being certain things if the situation requires you to do that.
Saying we're not defined by our positions.
It's a trap. It's a
Okay.
trap because you were it's a trap. If you're the president, you were not born a president. You
Okay.
became a president, and you could lose that presidency anytime soon.
Okay.
So you allowing that to define you, you allowing that to mm, yeah, to define you will always it will end you in trouble. And then what happens when you're
Mm-hmm.
no longer that thing? Then you lose your reason to live. You're going to feel like you're not
Mm-hmm.
significant anymore. And I think that for some people who have ended up making certain decisions like suicide or certain things, I'm not saying that it's the case for everybody, but I think that for some people, it must have been, it could be the reason why maybe their life revolved about that thing. They built their identity based on their status, and when that thing was
Mm-hmm.
no longer there, they really didn't know who they were anymore, and life lost its meaning.
Okay. So you're saying we're not defined by we're not defined by our positions. What are we defined by?
You're defined by the things that cannot be changed no matter what. So when your position is
Okay.
no longer there, when you do not have those possessions, when you do not have, say, if you have a mansion and people think you are really doing well because you have a mansion, or you have maybe the latest car, or maybe you have a very prestigious position. When we take all of these things out, who are you? I think
Hmm.
that's what, first of your life should first of all be defined by these things before you allow all these other things to define you.
Okay.
When we take these things out, are you still a kind person? Are you still hardworking? If people see you and they don't know your possession and your position, what do they see about you? I think that's what's most important.
I think it's also important that the value we give to people it's what defines us.
Definitely.
The impact we leave, the impact we leave on people, what defines us is that we bring into the life of people. The little pieces on a daily basis is part of what defines us. It doesn't matter the position you occupy. What matters is what you do with how much money you have. As what job contributions that you can positively bring into the life of people. To have this conversation with you, and one more time, let's quickly get into your job, and you're a PhD candidate. Can you describe your job? What's the joy of being a midwife?
So I want to start answering by answering from the point of view of a mother. So I've heard it said, I've never given birth. I don't have any kids of my own. But I've heard it said many times that motherhood cannot be described. The joy of motherhood can never be described. It can only be experienced, you know. And
Mhm.
one very interesting thing about pregnancy and then the journey to motherhood is it's different for every single person. And even for one, that same person,
Okay.
one pregnancy is different from the second pregnancy. It happens a lot. So I'll have women tell me, for my first pregnancy, I was totally okay. I never had problems. But then my second pregnancy, this baby never allows me to sleep. It's always kicking or something like that. And because of that, and because of my job, I can you can really understand and I appreciate the fact that you never know how pregnancy goes. So the only time a pregnant
Mm,
woman is in the hospital and she's at peace and she's happy is when she has her baby and she is safe and healthy
mm,
and the baby is safe and sound. From the first time she steps foot into the hospital
mm,
for her appointment, every time she has an appointment, a checkup, you're anxious because they are checking to see if everything is well with you, everything is well with your baby. During delivery, you are even more
mm,
anxious because, like, how is this thing going to go? A woman goes to the hospital, she wants to give birth naturally. And then in a moment, because I've seen it so many times, in a
mm,
split of a second, that she's on her way to theater with the baby needs to be taken out. And anything could happen, anything could change. So when that mother finally has the baby and she is well, she is sound, and the baby is well and sound, there is no greater
mm,
joy. You're like, yeah, all the anxiety is laid, put to rest, and you are happy. And as a midwife, being a part of that journey is so fulfilling, knowing that you stood by the woman. We do this every day. So there's the temptation for us to become very familiar. But for that woman, it's a
mm.
special moment and memory for her. So
Time in their
knowing that
life.
we became a part of that journey for that woman is amazing. And as a midwife, there's something I do wherever I find myself, especially when I have to deal with women who come in through. We have the maternity emergency. So when lady has any issues,
Mm,
they come just as people go to A&E. And there's no woman at that emergency who is there for any good news. It's because something is wrong. So they're already anxious, like
mm,
my baby's not moving. Could my baby be dead? I am bleeding. What's going on? Maybe my baby, I'm premature. I'm not term, but it looks like I'm going to give birth. What's going to happen? And I make it a point to, when I have to interact with them, to smile at them and ask them, how are you doing? How do you feel? And allow them to just
mm.
talk and release themselves. Anyhow, I can be a positive part of their journey. I try to do that.
It's someone say before that sometimes the best doctors or the best midwives are not the people who provide the service. They are the people who go out of the empathy. They're people who listen to see make you feel like, oh, I'm sick, but there's somebody, you might have anxieties,
Definitely.
but there's someone here for you. I think that's a healing balm. That's that's very reassuring when you're in the hospital, you're sick, or whatever reason that brought you to the hospital. You have someone to listen to you. You have someone to reassure you. It's patients that you need. I'm here to listen. I'm here to feel your pain. I'm here to let you know that
Yeah.
there's someone who understands what you're going through. I think that's I always say, emphasize. People don't care until they know how to care. That and I want to ask, as a midwife, the whole process of involved in it. How can you paint this? Can you paint the picture for a lay person like me? A
Uh-huh.
picture of what goes on in their anxieties, the professionalism. Are there people who are uncertain about them? What goes on there? Because it's between life and death for the baby, and then you guys have professional, and anxiety also happen, and you're responsible. And then there's a family way side, whole scenario.
It's a long journey. So pregnancy is like about 9 months. So when the lady finds out, and the system is very different. The system is different in Turkey. The system is different in the UK here, and in Ghana where I come from. The system is different. But because I'm working in the UK now, I'd like to talk about how things are done. So when the lady finds out that she's pregnant, she needs to go and we call it booking. She needs to go and tell. She needs to notify them that she's pregnant, and then they're going to organize her care. So she goes to the hospital, and then we do a very. They ask her so many questions. It's like a preliminary check to see where the lady is coming from and to kind of understand what kind of care that she needs. And then after she goes for her booking, they are going to organize appointments for her. So and then they tell her you need to come back next for this and that. And I've always said that the UK has one of the best midwifery system. Not because I'm working here now. It's something I would say even when I was in, and that's something that a lot of midwives are going to agree to. It has one of the best systems in midwifery. So, or as a pregnant woman, you are going to be going for an appointment for your test, and then when labor finally occurs or begins, there's a possibility here in the UK that you're going to be taking care of a midwife, just a midwife. Like there's a possibility that you can be pregnant and you will never have to see the doctor if you are low risk and there is nothing that's risky about that's like highly risky about your pregnancy. But then
Hmm.
for the delivery, you come for the delivery and you have a midwife staying with you. And the UK has a system of one-to-one care where you when you are actively in labor that you have a midwife staying with you throughout the entire process. She's not taking care of other women. She you have a midwife, she's in your room and she's taking care of you throughout the entire process. And then depending on whether you are high risk, then she's the midwife is going to be working together with the doctor to take care of you until your baby comes. And then after your baby comes.
I'm trying to get you to paint a picture of what happens in the delivery.
Okay. Okay, so here in the UK, you could deliver in four places. You have the option, especially if you are low risk, you have the option to deliver in your own home, in your house. The system allows for it, and there's a system in place for that. You could deliver in. We have places called midwifery units where you go. It's like a clinic, and you can deliver there. And then in the hospital, there are two types of places for delivery. So we have the midwifery led unit for lower risk women where you only have to deal with midwives. And then we have the labor ward, like the way we know labor ward in every part of the world. So
Mhm.
when you come to the hospital, when you feel like maybe you're about to give birth or your labor has started, you go to the hospital. And this is how things work in almost every part of the world. They need to first of all, a midwife needs to first of all assess you to see if your labor has really started, because sometimes you could feel the pain and it's only like the beginning of labor. We call it the passive phase of labor. It's just the beginning of labor, but your labor has not really started. And so if you stay at the hospital, if they tell you, oh, you're going to stay at the hospital, you might stay there for days because your labor has not really started. So we like to admit the women when their labor is actively in progress. And so when the midwife
What's the
assesses you,
tension? Do you guys that is the room during that moment of delivery? Feel the tension? Do you guys, the midwife, feel the
no,
tension? I know,
yeah,
or can you say everybody's top notch? No.
no. So, so the woman definitely feels the tension, but as a health professional, the last thing you want to be working with is the tension and pressure. You make mistakes, so you need to be as
And you
calm.
get a nipple.
Yes, so that's the last thing you want. So in the hospital, you even hear that there is a serious emergency. So you know how they call the code blue and everyone leaves what they are doing and they have to run. You will still see doctors walking and midwives walking. You won't see anyone running because when you run, you're going to start adrenaline, and when adrenaline sets in, you're not able to think straight. But that's the last thing you need when you are in emergency and you need to think straight and make quick decisions. So everyone is calm
I wish.
and
Sorry to cut you short. wish someone that there was someone I know. I wish the person was listening to this conversation because every time something happens, I have to tell the person, "Hey, run so fast," and it's like I'm like, "What so fast? Why?" You said because there's something happening. There's something happening. I said, the way you run and you can create more problem.
Yes.
The way you are can create, but if you relax, and it's like, no, you're too relaxed about the situation. I said, no,
No.
I'm not trying to create additional to already existing tension. So it's good to know that yeah, the mother of the child, the pregnant woman is the one in the tension, but on 100% in control. That's what
Yes.
every family, every husband, that's what every person needs to know. As my wife is going into the delivery room, you know, I have got who are under control. They're not stressed out. They're not, under any tension. They calm and collected. That's nice. Thank you so much. Um, you know, about working in your time in Turkey and in in the UK, right? Living in Turkey and living in Izmir and living
So the first
in
thing
in
is
in,
the
in
weather. The first thing is the weather. And I was in Turkey about 2 weeks ago, and I was just looking at the weather. It was so bright and blue and amazing. And here on the other hand, we had, maybe should I say, a month or a little bit more of summer, and it's all gloomy again. It's rainy and gloomy. So that's one thing. Even though we should not allow it, the weather has a way of affecting our moods as well. So the weather is one big difference. And in terms of my job, I came here purely because of my profession. I mean, that was the attraction. Nothing else really attracted me to this place. Because, like, as I've said, UK has one of the best midwifery systems in the world. And uh, m- first of all, I should say that I stayed in Turkey for 10 years, and I've been here only 6 months. So maybe
Mhm.
some things might not be so fair. And what I'm saying is totally based on my experience. It might be different for some people, but it's totally based on my experience. So my job, I find it better here. I feel I have better conditions. I have better conditions, and I have more opportunity to learn and grow. Like, I see how the bosses are always trying to update the system. As soon as something comes out and the research is saying actually it's better to do things that way, they always make sure they
Mhm.
incorporate this into the system as quick as possible. So one big difference in terms of
Mhm.
my profession is there is so much room to grow and become better as a midwife, and then the system keeps updating itself so quickly and as much as possible. So you don't go to school and you don't study one thing, then they tell you this is what it should be, and then you go to the field and you see people doing things way differently. No, the thing is, the system is always up to date. That's one difference. And then
You're sick. You up on. You said there's a grow even though you are a foreigner or system
yes.
that allows you to grow. I think in my conversation with had had a conversation last week in this platform. I think that you know Turkey is a great for some time. It's a very very
Mhm.
great place, very good and wonderful system, and I do believe it's becoming a superpower. And also, like I mentioned last week, create system that allows professionals to grow. It does system. If you're in education, then there's need to say, okay, in this system, even though you're a foreigner, if you're good in your job, you can grow up. You can grow, and if you're a doctor in this system, if you're an exceptional doctor, there's a for experts to grow in the no matter where they come from. Excellence is an international language. Excellence is a global. language. Whoever is excellent in their job, regardless of where they come from, anywhere should be recognized in that field and should be allowed to grow. So it's good to hear you say that there is a system that allows people to grow in
Yeah,
in the UK system. It allows you to grow, to rise in your career. Start.
definitely.
There's no bar that says, oh, you can't go beyond this.
No,
Rise to the top of the UK.
definitely.
That's a
Definitely.
very good thing. Do you believe that Turkey is getting to a point, getting to that place where it will just by, okay, you're Turkish,
Uh-huh.
not just by, it's of where you come from. If you're excellent in your job, if you can deliver on your job, the system should open up and is to the top of your career. I think that's two countries, right?
Yes. Yes, that's true. I couldn't
That's
agree with
that's
you more.
we're going to point to the second. You pointed out the weather. I agree with me. Weather is perfect, and I want to always tell people
Perfect.
it's perfect. Welcome to explore the beauties of two, the excellencies of. It's a perfect place for holiday. It's a place to leave. So anyone is welcome. 100%.
Another difference, people may not agree with me on that, but I think I enjoy the transportation system in I was staying in Izmir and Aydın, and I really enjoy the transportation system in Aydın way and in Izmir way more than I enjoy it here in London. I've not been much outside of London much, but if I'm comparing London and Izmir, I think I really preferred the transportation system there. Okay, but people do say that London's transportation system is good, and so I don't really want to talk much about it. But if you have a transport system where, say, I'm moving from point A to point C, and then you are in the bus, and then suddenly you get an announcement that the bus is going to terminate at point B. I don't know why I should be happy about that. And this is a place where it gets cold and it's almost rainy. And you have to maybe, there was a situation where
Mhm.
the bus terminated and I had to wait outside for like almost an hour. Eventually, I had to take a taxi home because I was getting too cold and I wasn't about to fall sick. And this is not just like one instance. This is something that happens over and over and over again. So I really prefer the transportation system in Turkey compared to or in Izmir compared to what I have here in London.
I think in London, I think the transportation system is efficient parts of Europe or any part of the world. I think
Yeah,
that is something that an applauds to the country and to those who run the
definitely,
country. That it's
definitely.
you're not the only one. I've had the opportunity to have conversation and host people in my house or in the city here who say, "Oh, comparing the transportation system, system, they agree that transport system in so even if
Yeah,
you're a tourist coming to this country, you can be so you it will be easy for you to move from other. So let's quickly get into deeper into um I you know you came to Turkey when you came in and
yeah.
you took advantage of the challenges. I know. So can you what was your experience? The first, maybe the only midwife in your set. What was your experience? How challenging was it? What were your motivations?
The language was definitely a challenge because when I came to Turkey, the only thing I knew was merhaba. That's hi, and in a
Mhm.
year we had to learn the language to the advanced level and begin our course. So imagine studying my course or my program in the language that I've learned only for a year compared to people who have been speaking it since they were toddlers. That was definitely a challenge. But with the language, I can say that it eventually works itself out, because now people hear me speak Turkish and I was like, oh, you speak, well, Turkish people, and then even here in the UK, Turkish people and people are like, you do speak well, and I'm like, I don't really speak well, because I remember when I was when I was working in Turkey, I still had a few challenges, or people thought I was challenged with the language, which I don't think should have been much of a problem, because as long as you understand what I'm saying, it shouldn't be a problem. So the language was definitely an issue, but with that, I can say it works itself out. It really works itself out. Eventually, you begin to speak way better than you were speaking before. And then another thing
Mm.
is adapting to a new environment. That's this is something that's very personal. I'm not someone who easily adapts. I'm not against
Okay.
change, but that should I say, that is the way I'm made. I don't easily adapt. So as people come here and they adapt in their first year, I think it took me about 4 years for me to really say, yeah, I have adapted to this country, you know. And one thing that helped me, because if I don't adapt, it means I'm not easy to mingle with people or be so social.
Mhm.
Well, one thing that helped me was with community. Yeah, so being with
Having a
people like
community.
myself, having a community of some sort, I think it helped me way more than I realized it did. Yeah. And I had to
Hmm.
make decisions based on the fact that I had community. The reason I would work in Izmir is because I knew that I already had a community in Izmir, so it wouldn't be difficult for me. So community, if you are someone like myself who finds it hard to adapt and you're finding it hard to just try to find yourself some sort of community, I think it would really help in that case. Yeah.
I think a lot of people underrate the power of having a community.
Yes.
People underrate. Try to emphasize to people that nothing
Mhm.
great, nothing excellent can be done alone. Nobody is an island. No matter
Yeah.
how intelligent you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how rich, wealth is in the company of friends. That's the no matter how great you are, no
Yeah.
matter how excellent you are, is the cut is your strength. And I've seen people
Uh-huh.
go through depression because they refuse to connect to communities. I was telling someone during actually, and we're having a conversation, and I said, see, not wanting to have a community, not wanting to associate with people are one of the first signs of depression.
Yeah.
The moment says people begin
Yeah.
to say they begin to
That's true.
disconnect from people. These are signs. So in order not to walk your into a new city, when you get into a new place, get into a community, connect with people. It's
Mhm.
what you can become through connections. It's the aspect of yourself you can explore. It's amazing. It's truly
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Yeah.
you know, you've talked about ask you what three qualities you think helped you to go through first degree, masters, and now a PhD candidate. What three qualities, what three characteristics do you possess that you think will help?
I think one thing I've come to realize is, as human beings, we are way more capable than we realize. And we can only realize that truth, or we can only come to achieve that when we apply ourselves. And I say this is something I realized when I started doing my PhD, because when I started my PhD, I was working as a midwife in a private hospital. So you know how things are at the private. They give excellent care, and that means the workers have to go the extra mile. So imagine working like 60 hours a week. That's like 5 shifts, and a shift is made up of 12 hours. That's the least. A shift is made up
Hmm.
of 12 hours. And then I was working as a midwife, and I had to travel to Aydin, another city where I was doing my PhD. So imagine going having a night shift. and not being able to sleep before going for that night shift because I had to study and prepare for my lectures, and then finishing the night
Hmm.
shift without having any rest, getting on the bus to travel to the other city, finishing the job and coming back. And so sometimes it would look like 2, 3 days without sleeping. That's right now I'm writing my
I'm going to
thesis. So
cut you short because I know you're making an interesting point. Who is watching and listening to her story of how she overcame her challenges and has got into it. I want you to invite you to share if you're on Instagram, wherever you if you're on YouTube. I want you to share the link and invite someone to be part of the conversation. Priscilla Ofei, she's a midwife in the UK and she's a PhD candidate me Turkey, and she's telling us the three characters that helped her to navigate first degree, second degree, and a PhD in the same field. With you, go ahead, share, and invite someone to be part of the conversation. Thank you so much, please.
that's all right. So, as human beings, we don't know what we've got inside of us until we apply ourselves and we try to bring it out. I never thought I could do it. Imagine like going 2 or sometimes 3 days without any proper rest. Of course, I would be on the bus because it's like an hour and a half journey. I would be able to sneak in some sleep. But then without you, it's either I had to go to work or I had to prepare, and it wasn't like I was going for someone to lecture me. I had to prepare the lecture. And for you to prepare a lecture, you need to read so many articles and make sure you are making sense. So, for everyone
Mhm,
listening, maybe your strength may not lie in maybe becoming a midwife, but whatever your strength is or whatever
mhm,
it is you want to do or achieve, I need you to know. I'm not saying this to you maybe because to sound nice or to sound deep, but you are way more capable than you think you are or than you realize. And if it means you need to apply yourself, apply yourself. And please, after you've applied yourself, make sure you find the time to rest. So if you are someone who's a workaholic, this might not be for you because you're already doing too much and you need to realize you need to rest.
mhm.
But for most of us, especially people in my generation or younger people, we need to know that we've got so much in us and we need to reach deep in us to bring it out, and that might require work. That was one thing. Another thing is try not to play the victim,
Mm,
because some people think that, oh, because I don't know the language, they should let it go. They should allow me, give me some grace. That's totally okay. But I remember very well that even during my undergraduate study, I never depended on people giving me such graces. I wanted it to be treated on the same pedestal, and no one would even give you that grace. Because first of all, some people are jealous that you
mm,
are on a scholarship spending their money, and then some people think that you need to be treated on the same. And so I've realized that I think there was an exam where someone was trying to help me, maybe the lecturer, because they thought I'm a foreigner, I'm struggling with the language. I didn't really, because then the people would discredit my success and think, oh, it's because they gave her extra grace. I want people to see that I've worked hard for what I've got. So let's not play the victim. Let's stop. I know racism is a thing. I know people not liking you and hating you is a thing. But as much as possible, don't focus on that. Stop playing the victim. Just focus on what you want to do and go get it. And you are so capable of it.
You're
Yeah.
saying we underestimate how capable individuals. We underestimate our power, our ability to do exploit. And then when we underestimate our ability to do exploit, oftentimes we play in order to,
Yes.
to get people to show us grace, to show us kindness. We
Yes.
play
Yes.
the victim. How can it
Yes.
be to play victim? How dangerous?
You first of all, if you are playing the victim, you're sort of giving people an excuse of why you can't be excellent, of why you can't be so
Mm-hmm.
good. You're telling
Mm-hmm.
me, okay, I'm a foreigner, I don't know the language, I am struggling. These are realities. I'm not, and I've been there. I'm not undermining them. But then once you begin to make it your excuse every time, I failed because of the language. I did this because of the language, blah, blah, blah. You're already giving yourself an excuse. And giving yourself that excuse means you're not even going to try to do better or more. It's very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
Mm-hmm. You know, I tell people something. Sorry to cut you short there. I tell
like,
people something. Once you make one excuse why you can't, one excuse why this cannot happen, why this, make room for more excuses to come up. If you think that
yes,
language is an excuse and why you shouldn't, why you can be successful, you will find additional reasons why you cannot be successful. Now, I want you to
yes,
touch down. You've
yes.
touched that. I want you to talk about how underrated commitment is. I know you're a you're a big timer on commitment and dedication to your task. I know you're a big time on that. It's commitment and dedication to whatever anybody's doing.
We live in a world where people only see the results of hard work and skills. So when you see someone, in the case of footballers, you see someone play so well, and all you see is their skills, but we forget the commitment that goes into it. And I think I've mentioned it before that I'd rather choose, if I have in a position of leadership, I'd rather choose someone who is committed and dedicated to what they are doing with little skill than someone who's got so much skill and is not committed to what they are doing. And I think that's one thing that our generation and then people younger than us do not get. We think that, oh, we've got the skills, so people should allow us to pass through. You've got to show that dedication and the commitment. You've got to let the people that you are working with or the people that you are working under know that they can count on you, you know. And like I said, you can have all the skill, but without the commitment, it can only take you it can't take you far. That's it. You
Thank you so much. It goes on to say something that I always try to add to people. Talent is,
Yes.
no matter how talented you are, talent is not enough. Talented as anything. Remember the first we spoke about connections, connecting
Mhm.
to
Yes.
people. Cannot connect with people if you're not dedicated and committed to whatever you're doing. You
Mhm.
Success is far away from
Mhm.
you. You're naturally, if you're a
Definitely.
talented person, you're naturally blessed with the tendencies to be successful. That's the thing people need to understand.
Yes.
For those who are really talented, and nature and God has you the natural quality of success. But the natural are nothing without a life of dedication, a life of commitment, and connection with the right people. It's a blend. Success is a blend of you able to explore your natural, your natural giftings, blend dedication and hard work. That's
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Commitment over skill. Commitment over skill. The one without
mhm,
any skill with commitment and consistency will get somewhere.
that's great. I want to while we're on the notion of commitment and pertains to success, I want to ask a question. How do you deal with failure? Because from your first degree to your PhD in midwifery, I do not think it's been all successful. There might be times that you have failed, even in your career, in UK and as a midwife now in the UK. There, even in your personal life, maybe it's been in
Yes.
your relationship. There might be times where you felt like, oh gosh, oh God, I feel like I'm a failure in this. How do you handle failure?
First of all, I don't ever tell myself I'm a failure because it's
Oh, great.
like it's like the general. If I tell myself, it's like a final judgment on my life. Priscilla
Hmm.
Ofei, what did she do? She was a failure in life. So I don't tell myself. But I do recognize it if I have failed about I failed in something, and I am able to tell myself I have failed in this regard. And when I have failed, one thing I do, I may not admit it to people, but I think I'll be doing myself a great disservice if I lie to myself and I deceive myself. I like to be, it's good to be
Mm,
honest. I tell myself, I have a conversation with myself. Why did this happen? And then I don't try to put up a front or bring up the excuses. No, I try my best, even if someone contributed to it, even if there are other factors. I try my best to look inward to see in what way I could have contributed to that failure. What are the things I did? What are things I that contributed, or the things I should have done that I did not do that could have
mhm,
contributed? So
mhm,
in areas of failure, or in the situation where you think you failed in life, it's very important to be honest with yourself, even if you
mhm,
don't want to agree, or if you even if you don't want to agree, or have that conversation with other people and agree with other people, be honest with yourself. It's if I
mhm,
After all, it's you. And tell yourself, okay, maybe it's because I did it this way, maybe I could have done it this way, maybe I was yes. And then learn your lesson from that.
mhm, mhm,
Learn your lesson from that. And once you have that opportunity, because in life we always have that, most of the time we have that opportunity to correct our mistakes, we make sure we do it better.
mhm,
And then especially for Africans or foreigners in Turkey, don't let that thing define you. Like I
mhm,
said, you are way more capable. I remember when I started my degree, in my first year, I think my first semester, second semester, probably, yeah, first semester, second semester, I did not pass some courses. So I did not
mhm,
have to carry it over. They have a system where you have the makeup, the between the of the makeup exams, where you get the chance
mhm,
to
mhm,
resit certain courses, so you don't have to take them, take the whole course again. So for my first year, second year, first semester, second semester, I had to resit. But because I kept applying myself and doing things, by my
mhm,
second year, I can say that I didn't even have to resit a course. And for the record, I never failed a course where I had to maybe take it in the following semester.
mhm,
But even for the reset for my first semester, second semester, and I had to tell myself maybe I have to do things better. And I realized that when I actually sat down to study, I passed the courses. And from there, I so be honest with yourself. What could you have done better? And don't let that failure push you down. No, just tell yourself you are capable. I'm not just saying it to make you feel good about yourself. As a human being, you are so capable of doing it. Apply yourself, and you're going to see the result.
I thank you so much. I like what you started with. You don't pass a final, like you don't say to yourself, I am a failure. That yourself. You you
Yeah.
you never you don't pass a judgment on yourself and say, I am a failure. You don't. That's a very good thing. And all of us need to learn. I think from my experience of working with people, sometimes part of what leads to depression is when people pass a judgment, a negative judgment on themselves, By so doing, they lack the ability to apply themselves to find
Mhm.
working out what needs to be worked out. And I
Yes.
do agree with you, judgment on ourselves. I agree with you. It's amazing solutions. There are solutions we can find. But I
Yes.
think we don't just apply ourselves and we give up so quickly. We pass a judgment on ourselves, on what we're going through. We pass a judgment on our relationships. We pass a judgment on our so fast. And once we pass that, the ability to ourselves. I'm really enjoying it. Thank you so much. It's been insightful chatting with you. Now, I want to, Sam, please do me a favor. Go ahead, share on Facebook, share on Instagram, share on your WhatsApp status, and help me reach out to more persons to learn to inspired. We just this conversation is about to make you a better person from others, to make you to guide you in your career path, drawing inspiration from leaders, from managers to make you better leaders, to make you a better leader, drawing inspiration from career people, career path, drawing inspiration from people who are doing well in their relationships to guiding your path of relationship. I'm excited to always be your host. One more time, I played with you. Go to Facebook, YouTube, and invite someone to be part of the conversation. Let me quickly say this. Next week, I'm going from the Gambia, another wonderful, exciting person who has done exceptionally. Well, then, let's go ahead and continue our conversation of fear. Thank you so much, Priscilla. I want to quickly ask a question. This you are, if I'm correct, you're single. You're not married.
Yeah, right.
At least we're 2 weeks ago in Izmi, but you never know what happens. People could get married. You never know what happened in this generation. People could just leave you, and the next thing you see on Facebook, on Instagram, you say like, "Oh, it's happening. And I'm married." So good to confirm. It's you're single. You're a PhD candidate, midwife, a successful midwife. You are an independent woman. Do you?
Very.
Yes, independent woman. I know that you are an independent woman. But the first part of my question is: do you desire relationship? Do you desire to be married?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, okay. Now that we
Yes.
got that underway, I have a question that I want to ask. You know, you have been independent. You have made independent decisions for almost 13, 14 years of your life. You have, you're successful in your career. You're successful in the path that you have chosen. Do you think that for such a successful person like you who has been independent life to give away her independence to say to be married, do you think it's possible?
I think I had this conversation with myself some years ago, and it was very easy for me to say yes. So the thing is, I may not be able to give my independence to just anybody, but I have found myself, even in terms of friendship or certain people in my life, that it was easy for me to kind of work together with them, submit to them, try to negotiate and do life. I realized that when it comes to some people, it's very easy for me to work together with them,
Hmm.
whether as friends or whatever, maybe as a figure of authority or someone that I look up to. It's been easy for me to just say, okay, yeah. And one thing that has helped me to do that is from once I realize that that person truly loves me and has my best interest at heart, it's easy for me to say, yeah, I can give up my independence and be somewhat dependent or do life together with you. So I don't
Hmm.
think that's ever going to really be unless I'm with the wrong person. I don't
Hmm.
think that's ever going to be an issue with me as long as I
Hmm.
can confirm that this person loves me and has my best interest at heart. There are times of people have shouted or done things to me that I did not like, but then when I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I know I don't like the way they did it, but I know that they did it because they love me and they have my best interest at heart. So when I was able
Hmm.
to realize
Hmm.
that about myself, I knew that I wasn't going to have a problem with that.
So, if I'm correct, what you're saying is I don't have a problem with giving away some measure of my independence as a person, as
Yes.
long as the judgment of the person I'm giving that independence, I'm giving away my independence to. I want to be, you're saying you
Yeah.
want to be with somebody that you trust their judgment, that you trust their assertions when they state certain things. Now, one of the
Uh-huh.
things that people, why I ask that question is, people always say, "Oh, I'm an independent person because I'm this, because I'm this, because I'm this," and I always say that word independence is overrated
Uh-huh.
because nobody's truly
Uh-huh.
independent. Nobody's truly independent.
No.
have someone that we submit to, someone that we bow to, someone that
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
someone that we have to give away a measure of our independence to.
Uh-huh. That's
You
true.
give a measure of country you live in.
Yes.
You give a measure of the place you work. You give a measure of
And
independence.
in our generation, to social media.
You give a measure of your
In our
independence to your
generation,
social media, to the friends you follow. So no one is independent. We just have to make sure that we carefully choose the people we give measures of our independence to, because
exactly.
nobody is truly country is truly independent.
Definitely.
So I'm happy to hear when you say, okay, ask yourself this question to say, can I give away a measure of my independence? And you said it will be easy if I can confirm at all time this person has my best interest at heart. Okay, we're beginning to round. Thank you so much. I'm excited about what you've said so far. Your answers are beautiful. I want to ask a question. You've lived in Turkey. You're currently in the UK working. You're from Ghana. You know, would you be willing to go back to your country to contribute your quota to the Ghana dream, to the dream of, okay, I want to, to the successful story of Ghana? Would you be? I see many people, Jamaicans, I see many people, Americans, people coming from different parts of the world and going our roots. This is where we trace ourselves to, and we're taking Ghana citizenship. But you're already a Ghanaian. Be willing to say, I want to go back and contribute my quota to Ghana? And at what point in your career would that be?
So I would say definitely, yes, I would like to go back. But I would also say that it's not as easy as it seems, or because okay, until now I've
Mhm.
been, as you said, independent. When I decided to move here, the truth is I did not consult anybody. I made my decision and I came here. I had to. I had to inform you. I don't have kids. I don't have a husband. If you have a husband, you have kids. You have to consider your husband. You have to consider your kids. And in our society, you don't, even as a woman, you don't just make that decision and say my husband should follow me. It's not even
Mhm.
so like what
Mhm.
really happens. But so many factors come to play. If I'm going to go to Ghana, what about my family? What about, and even my stay here in the UK? I don't know how long. I only have a 3-year contract. After that, I don't know what's going to happen. I could move to another country, or I could be doing stuff.
We can guess what's leaving. We never go and come out. We're West Africans. We Ghana Nigerians. Once we get into the UK, we never get out. We find a way out. And let me say this: our forefathers are there. The bones of our forefathers are buried there. So we come to find them. So, but the
Yeah,
big
but I
question
would
is:
say that
would you be willing to go back if the opportunities
yes,
and everything was
yes,
in the
definitely.
right
Why
place?
not?
Would you be?
Yes, yes, yes. And I'd like to say, even if I'm not able to do so, so whether I'm able to go back or not, I began to think about ways I could give back. It would be perfect if I could go there and do and be present. But if I
Mhm.
can't be present for whatever reason, as I'm beginning to consider ways of giving back to
Mhm.
society. So I must say, I don't know if I've you know about this, but I must say that I had primary or elementary education for free. And that's not because I was in a public school. That's because someone decided to pay my school fees throughout
Hmm.
my primary school life. And it was the same thing
So
for
you would like to give back.
yes. If I can't be if I can't be present there, if I could say, okay, give me a child where I who I could sponsor so that they can have that. Because if that person had not paid for me, Mr. Egan, if you are watching this, if he had not made sure I had that education, maybe I couldn't have had that quality of education I had in Ghana, and maybe it would have really really changed the chain of things, because you
Mhm.
know how important education is. It was the same for my SHS. Someone said, okay, because we for a while my family had crisis. So even though my parents had the best intention to give me the best education, their finances were just not allowing that. But I was blessed to have someone pay for me. So if
So
I
you
have that
like to
opportunity,
do that.
I'd like to do that. I'd like to do more as much as
Okay.
I can
I'm,
afford.
I'm trying to cut you short so that we can round up.
Okay.
We have about 30 seconds there. About quickly, what do you about your time in Turkey? What do you wish you could have 40 seconds?
Thank you so much. I regret not taking the advantage of the time I had as a student when I was not working full time to learn skills. So I had always wanted to learn how to do things like drive or to swim, and I always thought I didn't have the time. But now I'm a student and I'm working full time, and I don't have the time at all. But I'm like, I have to learn the skills, and I'm paying way more money, and I'm spending, like, I'm sacrificing my precious time. So I wish I had learned skills when it was easier. When you're a student, you think you don't have the time, but wait till you have a full-time job. Wait till you're a mother or a father and you have a kids and families to take care of. So, like, the time is now. Just do it. Whatever it is you want to do, just do it. And I wish I had seen more places in Turkey, because when I tell people I was in Turkey for 10 years, like, oh, it sounds like a very exotic idea. Oh, you were in Turkey. Turkey is a very beautiful city. We go for holidays. Last year I went to Antalya. And these people in UK, they know Turkey. They've been to different places in Turkey more than I've been in Turkey. Turkey, and that's a regret. That's something I would do differently if I were to go back. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Priscilla Ofei. It's been wonderful, exciting, as my who have joined can testify and can say. So I'm excited and I'm grateful that you made our time to be part of the conversation today. Thank you so much, Priscilla Ofei. I am very sure that I would love to bring you back on the conversation sometime again, and I hope you'll be happy to join us. So for those who have joined, and I want to say thank you so much for being part of the conversation. I would like to farewell greetings from from Priscilla before we go. Come on, quickly.
Just do it. If you're an overthinker, don't think too much. Whatever you want to do, just go ahead. As long as it's a good thing and it's going to contribute well to your purpose, just go ahead and do it.
Thank you so much. And
And
from
before
me,
you think,
thank you so much. And from me, you could be about anything that you apply yourself to be. That's something you got to learn from today. Commitment,
yeah.
hard work, perseverance will take you to the top of your career, possible in every path that you choose. I'm Chigozie George, and this is the standard signing out today. I'll see you next week, Saturday. Thank you for joining. And Priscilla, one more time, thank you.